Hello and welcome to PSGL Austria, and as we start the video as normal, all the way in Q1. So this is my first lap actually in Q1, and we're of course going to be trying to get through the session only using one set of the fresh, sticky, soft compound tyres, as that will give us an advantage as we progress on during qualifying. Our first lap did put us P3 with a 2:16, and that is going to be enough to be putting us through with one lap time done and a set of soft tyres saved. First lap here in Q2, we're actually out on the same set of tyres as we used in our lap in Q1, just to go out, get used to the track again, just to be in a good flow, and why not have a bit of fun. I always do quite like the worn tyre runs. I seem to perform better on them actually than the new compounded tyre, and we go 1/1000th of a second slower than we actually did in the first lap of Q1, showing how competitive we are on that set of used tyre. First lap with new sets here in Q2, and we do a 1:28, what puts us provisionally P6. So a good lap, not stellar, not banging, but good nevertheless. Final lap here in Q2, and this is going to be riding on board fully. In the turn 1, I should say, we did not get it completely hooked up. The car was squirming around looking for the traction, what was not quite there. End of the first sector split, and we're going to brake, and we're going to lock up the rear tyres just slightly into the apex, so it's not been a good start to the lap, and the area of the lap that we needed to find the time compared to my previous lap time, we're not doing so. This rest of the lap now needs to be scintillating, needs to be perfect, needs to be hooked up to have any chance of progressing into the final stage of qualifying Q3. Of course, into the left-hander, hook it up well. That was beautiful. The rotation was nice. Into the left-hander, we scrub wide with the speed. It's not being fast. And again, another half of a tenth thrown away. So we probably lost upwards of a tenth and a half just down to little mistakes on this lap. So it's not been great, not good, not anywhere near where we needed to be. Running up to the line, where's it going to put us? And it's going to be P12 on the grid. You can see I was not happy about that, but one lap of mistakes can be enough to put you out of qualifying in this competitive field. So now we have to maximize the race. We have 5 lights, and lights out, and away we go on the hard compound tire. And you can see we're going to be looking to the outside of Leigh and diving up the inside in turn 1, but leaving enough space on exit. So now we just try to be a bit aggressive there, falling back into the slipstream. So nothing gained, nothing lost in the first sector of the race. Now just trying to make sure we don't get any contact, looking around the outside, just leaving the space on the inside for Isbao as he went for the dive. But yeah, picking the outside line so we can get good traction off the hairpin and be running in the slipstream of the only Tormina. That being said, we are going to be trying cheeky and try and find the gap around the outside, coming from over 100 meters later on the brakes and almost getting the move done around the outside. But now in the slipstream, we're not going to back out. We're going to keep it committed down the inside. He leaves us the space, and that is one hell of a move for a lap 1 racecraft, basically. Just absolutely launching one around the outside, and that around the outside turned into the inside line, and we've been able to pick up 1 place on the first racing lap here in Austria. And yeah, watching that back, that was quite far back. We went for the lunge, but now lap 2 DRS has already been enabled, and we're going to be looking all over the back of Nicolas Leigh. You see turn 1, we've got a very nice exit, so now not having to use really any battery down the straight, super close, under 1.5 tenths away. We go down the inside, but of course we're going to be fair. We leave the space on the exit, we don't make any contact, and yeah, you can see Leigh was just getting a bit better traction on the outside line, and nothing really could have done more than the situation we already did, just diving up the inside and trying to make something happen. But Leigh kept his cool and was able to compose himself around the outside line. Bari up ahead. At this point I thought had damage, and I think he does have damage in this race, and I could see that he was falling behind the cars quite a lot, and he's going to be swapping with his teammate Nicolas Leigh on this straight. And I knew it was so critical, absolutely pivotal for our race to get past Bari, because we did not want him to break the DRS train to the leading cars, and that would put our race in a really vulnerable position. So we're going to have to absolutely send it up the inside, but we are going to make a small mistake. We lock up the front right tire just marginally, run wide and understeer wide into him.
Sorry,
and you hear me say sorry, Barry, immediately. And we did have a discussion about giving back the place. Ultimately, though, we decided not to give back the place and continue racing on. But I have to say, 100% was my fault. I locked up the tyre. I ran wide. It was my mistake, 100%. So, as in the moment, I apologise to Barry in the race, and I apologise again because, yeah, it was just totally my mistake. But now, as we move on into lap 11 here behind Daniel Beresde, you can see from the medium compound tyres, and our tyres, the hard compound tyres, are coming into the working window. We're going to go down the inside, but we get blocked in by the cars ahead. That means that Beresde gets the momentum around the outside again, and yeah, it was just really unfortunate. And you're going to see this happen time and time over the race, that we put ourselves in a really fantastic place, but for just luck of the gods and the car placements, it didn't work out for us like it did in that situation, but more on that later. But yeah, really unfortunate because we spent a lot of battery trying to get up the inside of Beresde and we wasn't able to utilize that. And now on lap 12, he's going to go defensive. We go around the outside of him, nice and late on the brakes, trying to carry momentum around the outside, get good traction. And now we're going to dip back into the slipstream with Daniel Beresde, but very low on the battery now because of what happened on the previous lap. We're just going to look down the inside and we're able to get him distracted enough off the racing line, and we are going to be getting up into P8 nicely ahead of him now. But we have very low battery due to the excessive battling that we had to do in the situation. Lap 17 now, all over the back of Tom Manley. We're going to look around the outside and we get squeezed off the track a little bit in the braking zone, but we're still going to be all over the back of him and going to start using an opportunity to try and get past him into turn 4 here in Austria. Looking down the inside, late on the brakes, we're able to get alongside him. We make a little bit of a touch on the wheels in the corner, and now we decide not to burn the rest of our battery and try to look around the outside. It's just not worth it at that point in the race to have no battery just ahead of the pit stop windows. And now, speaking of the pit stop window, a few laps later, lap 21, and we are going to be coming into the pit lane on this lap. I knew that the undercut was possible, and that's why I didn't want to use all of my battery trying to overtake Tom earlier in the race. Otherwise, I would have been super vulnerable to not be able to maximize the undercut potential of the fresh medium compound tires. So now in the pit lane, of course, just got to do the turning thing and get into our pit stall, slapping on a new set of tires. Yeah, so basically, yeah, it's like that situation that I could have battled more at the end of that stint, but now I'm exiting the pit lane with 95% on the battery deployment and a very healthy amount to go and attack these laps. We have a 3.9 second gap, even 4-second gap at one point to Bari. We go purple, and we're able to start undercutting the cars. And effectively, we are now the lead medium runner ahead of everyone who was on the same strategy as us. So that's worked out beautifully for us, in fact, at this very moment in time. And you can see we're all over the back of Bari. And we're going to have to get past him very, very quickly because I can see that he has damage. Bari is one of the fastest drivers on the game, and his car is understeering quite a lot at the moment, and he's struggling with the car. So this is not normal for Bari. His pace is normally scintillating, so I understood that he probably had a bit of damage at this moment in time, and he's more than likely going to try and back us up to try and help Longuet in the race. Well, it's more than fair. It's part of the game tactics at the moment, and you can see we're going to set ourselves up for a beautiful exit, get the clean air, get on the power, looking around the outside, using a bit of overtake. And now we're going to be side by side, and we're just going to fire one around the outside, back on the power, super early, super committed, and you could see any wider and we would have ended up in the gravel. So that was beautifully judged, and now you can see the cars being held up by Bari behind us as well. So yeah, absolutely loved watching that one back. That was nice. But now we're all over the back of Daniel Beresde, and we're going to be opening up DRS. You can see I'm weaving. I'm saying, okay, let's work together. Let's work together. We have a fantastic opportunity to try and break to the cars behind, break the DRS of the cars behind, I should say. And now on lap 26, with only 10 laps to go in this race, we have started 12th, and we have worked our way up into P1 here in this race, and it is looking very nice for us so far. And now you can see starting to bridge a bit of a gap, almost half a second to Daniel Beresnay behind us as we exit the corner. Lap 28, you can see we didn't have to defend into the hairpin, so our pace is absolutely scintillating at the moment. I'm really happy with the car setup. I feel really confident. You can see in the high-speed corners especially, the car is beautifully balanced. It's turning, it's rotating, it's not sliding, and we're half a second ahead of Beresnay in the middle sector split, and we don't even again have to defend into the hairpin because we had so much pace available to us in the middle sector of the track. So it's looking really good. Lap 29, again just under half a second gap, but now I can see Beresnay is starting to use battery. Istvan Pukki, Daniel Beresnay, a teammate in Mercedes, so I knew that they're going to work together. They're probably going to try and double pass us on this straight. Well, to be honest, I'm happy with. I'm happy to be P3 in this race. I don't want to fight the two Mercedes at this moment in time because Beresnay's on a different strategy and being P3 is optimal anyway. So I'm using battery down the straight just to try and put myself in a position that I'm not vulnerable to Jarno. And you can see Beresnay taps us on the straight and now into the braking zone. We go around the outside. We're not really fighting anyone, but Beresnay stops on the exit of the corner and that costs us momentum. And now Jarno has got up the inside and in the space of one apex, we've lost 3 positions. We're 4 wide into the braking zone. I back out of that and now we're basically 3 wide in the corner, and you can see Istvan Pukki and Jarno Opmeer made contact at the apex. Somehow we've got back into P2 in this race, but we have got very low battery, probably similar to other cars at the moment, and now we're all over the back of Daniel Beresnay. And yeah, but again, Beresnay is just going to box us in. Again, there's nothing wrong with what he's doing because we're not his teammate. He has no obligation to help us in the race, but just really unlucky on our part. Beresnay boxes us in, and that means Jarno again gets up the inside of us, and we're going to be boxed in for the 3rd time in under a racing lap behind Beresnay, and that means Jarno is able to get the position ahead of us. And yeah, what a disaster. We have no battery now. We're down into P4. We're fighting so hard, tooth and nail, to keep the positions. You can see we're not going to fight Thomas because he's on fresher compound tyres as our teammate, and we're going to try and use him to help us elevate ourselves up the grid again, regain a bit of battery, regain a bit of the ability to go forward in this race. You can see Nicolas Longue trying to attack us. Thomas actually helps us and covers the inside line, and now we go around the outside of Longue, but we just have no battery. There's just no battery that we have. We're down to 5% because of that lap with Beresnay. We have no battery, very little track position, and now you can see Longue is going to absolutely send one up the inside of us, and that is disastrous for us. We have to leave the space because yeah, it's racing. He's fair enough. He went for the lunge. I left the gap open and he capitalized on it, and now from going like 2 laps, we're P1 to P6 in this race. Tom Manning thinks about looking up the inside, but we're able to cover that off. But look, we're all over the back of them in the corners, so our pace is still very, very good. Our pace is still fast in the corners, but because of the battery, the lack thereof of the battery power, we're just not able to follow that closely on the straight. Tom goes around the outside of turn 1, what was actually quite a nice move, to be honest. And now I just didn't realise how good of a move that was, basically, until I watched his back. But now you can see we're just side by side with him, leaving him the space again, and he goes around the outside. And again, very nice move by him, actually. Top notch, 10 out of 10. But doesn't help us in this race. And now you see Duncan is now alongside us. We're going to be 3 wide into the corner, and we're just going to try and hold the track position, and we're just going to be 3 wide in the corner. But yeah, nothing to do, nothing to help us, nothing to manage the situation with, because we just don't have the battery power. Lap 34, and there you see Freddie Rasmussen looking up the inside of us. We tried to go around the outside, but again, just don't have the battery power. We're able to exit the corner side by side with him, but then we just run out of the power from the battery and we lose out as the straight goes on. But we're going to send one round the outside of him even still and try and get the track position back around the corner where we can fight with the grip and the pace that we have, but just not able to get the power on the next mini straight. Lap 35, second to last lap of the race. We're starting to build a little bit more battery up, but Wilson Hughes is now going around the outside of us, and he's going to move a bit in the straight, to be honest, and I wasn't a fan of this, how he just moved over and sort of pushed us to the outside, and now stops on the apex.
And then just stop on the apex.
Ah, yeah, painful. We lost the position. Wilson kind of moved on the straight, forced us to move to the right-hand side as a compensation for that, and then the pack clustered up ahead of us, what then meant we had contact, and lost part of our front wing. So yeah, it's not looking good. It's not looking good. Not even like 5 laps ago we were leading this race. Now we're P10 with front wing damage, and we're still going to fight. We're going to still try to get something back in this race, because I know that there's going to be carnage on this final lap. So maybe, just maybe, we can pick up some points paying positions and move our way forward in this race. 1 lap to go. One more big opportunity to try and do something. You can see we're hanging back on the straight, saving our battery for a different opportunity, and more towards the end of the lap where they could be fighting. But you can see the cars are very close up ahead, constant fighting, going into corner 3, and now we're going to brake, and we're just going to get so unlucky. There was literally nowhere we could go, and now we're stuck here, and we have been demoted down into P12 with basically no front wing now. And something, to be honest, I'm really happy about in this race, I'm really happy about, is that despite the whole race going to absolute mud, disaster, absolute disaster, now we have no front wing, last lap of the race, we're not going to store points, and yeah, we could have been winning this race. But the thing that I'm so happy about is I didn't resort to name calling. I didn't resort to trashing on someone else's name. I didn't resort to crying like, to be honest, a baby. A complete baby. Like, to be honest, so many other people do. They start name calling, they start acting immature, they start acting childish, and start blaming everyone else's for their own mistakes. And I'm happy I didn't do this. I'm really proud that I didn't do this, and I just kept my mouth shut. I'm so happy about this. Because yeah, people don't deserve to be trashed on. They don't deserve for their name to be thrown into the mud because of a race on a video game, you know. So really, I'm so happy, I'm so proud of this as well, that in that moment of the whole race going to absolute mud, that I was able just to retain some moral standards and not just to be throwing names and calling other people trash and stuff like this, because it's not the way I want to go about my life, and it's not the way I want to go about racing. So yeah, that's, to be honest, the most positive thing that I take away from this race, that I was able to hold myself together mentally, not to lose my composure, and the race pace was really fast. When we had the battery and was able to show our race pace, was able to be scintillating in that middle sector. But sometimes these bad races happen, and we have to take it on the chin. So that cost us a lot in the championship fight, but we're going to try and fight back nevertheless. So thank you everyone for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Grazie, ciao, ciao, bye bye.